Shalom, shalom, brothers and sisters. Praise Yahweh. Praise Yahweh ben Yahweh. Bless the nation of Yahweh and the tribe of Yahuwah. This is going to be a real quick lesson. Actually, it's a lesson that it's a study lesson actually that it would be important to go into in depth. But I'm just going to touch on some things real quick. Some things that Yahweh has been speaking to me. This is actually from an old lesson that I did, and I advise all of you brothers and sisters to pull out some of your old lessons, because Yahweh was putting something in you, has put something in you, and was telling you something through some of your old lessons that you might not have picked up at the time, or you might have picked up at the time. But I think it would be good to pick up some of those old lessons, because you might be surprised at what you find. Because I just picked up one of my old lessons that I did a few years back, but it was called the Feast of Tabernacles. I think I did it was about 3 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago. But it was for the Feast of Tabernacles and the Holy Convocation. But the verse that we'll be reading from will be Luke chapter 21, verses 25 through 28. And this is dealing with the coming of the Son of Man. The coming of the Son of Man. Verse 25 says, "And there shall be signs in the sun, and in the moon, and in the stars, and upon the earth, distress of nations with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring. Men's hearts failing them for fear, and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth. For the powers of heaven shall be shaken. And then shall they see the Son of Man coming in the clouds, with power and great glory. And when these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth near." Okay. So in dealing with this, you see in verse 25 it says, "And there shall be signs." And we understand from my studying right here, these are all signs. Okay, and it says it'll be dealing with the sun and the moon and the stars and upon the earth. So that right there is letting you know that there's going to be some signs going on in the celestial sphere, in the heavens, in space as well. Because you're dealing with something going on with the sun, the moon, the stars, and etc. etc. But we know that these are all signs. And when you go into the Greek for the word signs, it's 4592. And it says that it is an indication, especially ceremonially supernatural. A ceremonially supernatural sign. So we know how we go through our feasts every year. We go through the Feast of Passover and Unleavened Bread. These are ceremonies that we partake in. The Feast of Unleavened Bread, Feast of Weeks, Memorial Blowing of the Trumpets, Day of Atonement, just to name a few. But we know that these things are ceremonially, but they're also supernatural. There's something supernatural going on with this whole thing now. And we know that something supernatural is natural, but it's greater than natural. And it says a sign, a miracle, a token, a wonder, from the base of 4591, which is also a mark and to indicate or signify. So these things will be signifying the coming of the Son of Man. And this is dealing with the sun and the moon and the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations. That sounds like right now. Distress of nations going on all over the earth right now, and perplexity. The sea and the waves roaring. The people, the nations, the tribes, the languages and tongues all over the earth. It's a great roaring going on. And also it says the sun and the moon and the stars. Sounds like we're dealing with eclipses and processions and eclipses. There's something real big going on now. Pay attention, because we know the 400 years. We know all about what's going on with the. There's a lot going on about the 400 years with Trump and all this here. There's a lot going on in the news and everywhere right now about the 400 years of the Hebrews, the true Hebrew Israelites, the so-called black man of America, the tribe of Judah being in bondage and slavery here in America, which is spiritual Egypt for 400 years, 400 plus years. Okay, and it says, men's hearts failing them for fear and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth, for the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. See, we're looking for the things that are coming on the earth. Now this is both spiritual as well as physical, because we know a lot of things are going on the earth. We know a lot of things are going on in the spiritual realm, just as it says, there's a lot going on in the celestial realm, right? Speaking of the sun, the moon, the stars, and also it said, for the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. That's both ways too. The established ages and signs, what they call the zodiac. They call that signs, right? Okay. So and then also when you went over here to this word which said shall be signs, and we looked up signs, and it said that these signs was to be taken for a token or a wonder or for something to indicate or signify, to indicate or point out or to something that's pointing to, that is synonymous to record, identity, oneness. It says see, copy, sameness, very or actual, unity, self, myself, identity. Yahweh ben Yahweh is myself, Yahweh ben Yahweh is I, Yahweh ben Yahweh is self, Yahweh ben Yahweh is self-recognized, recognize the identity of. Yahweh ben Yahweh is one, Yahweh but there is no other, and Yahweh ben Yahweh is at one, and oneness. See, all these signs of heaven are going to be indicating something, and they're going to be indicating or pointing to. It is a record in the heavens as well as on the earth, because we got it written here on the earth in the Bible. And we know the Bible is spiritual, so it's celestial, heavenly, as well as earthly. So we know that these things is going on in the celestial sphere, with the equinoxes, the procession of the equinoxes, with the eclipses, all these things going on. All right, but it says that it's a sign and an indication of something that we've been waiting on for a long time. It's indicating and pointing toward this thing that we've been waiting on for a long time. What is that thing? We shall see. Okay, and it says, for the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. Yeah, that which has been established in the heavens. I know we was in the age of what, Pisces, and we moved out of the age of Pisces. Now we're into Aquarius, right? We're into Aquarius. I ain't want this to be that long, but I see it's gonna end up being long. But it is what it is. Okay, so we're in the age of Aquarius. Okay, so it said the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. Okay, so there was a foundation going on for a period of time. That house was built. We were living in that house of Pisces. So that house had a foundation that had been there for so many thousands of years until it moves on into the next, which would be Aquarius. So I think it's like 2,100 and something years for each age. But okay, so that the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. Okay, so and the powers of the heavens and the powers of the earth, because we know heaven is earth and heaven is in conjunction with one another, connected with one another. It's together. So we say the powers of the heaven shall be shaken. So that whole foundation of this age of Pisces is going to be shaken. We coming up out of that. It's going to be a shaking, a quaking of that foundation. And we got to move up out of that. So we got to move into the next paradigm, which would be the age of Aquarius, the age of the water bearer, the man carrying a pitcher of water, that age, entering into his house, right? Because if you go over to Luke chapter 22, okay, Luke chapter 22 verse 10 says right here, and he said unto them, behold, when you are entered into the city, there shall a man meet you, bearing a pitcher of water. Follow him into the house where he entereth in. See, that's another sign, symbol. A man carrying a pitcher of water. You look that up in any books. Just look up Aquarius in your dictionary or your encyclopedia. It's going to tell you that it's a man carrying a pitcher of water, or a pitcher of water, the water bearer, right? And we know that prophecy speaks of Yahweh's spirit being poured upon the earth. I know prophecy speaks of that. Now, follow me. Okay. So this is a record. This is the identity. This is the oneness to indicate, to point to the seed copy, seed sameness. Okay. Sameness. So we see that we're entering into, that scripture told us that when we see this man carrying this water pitcher, follow him into the house where he entereth into. So we entering into this house of this new age, coming out of the old age of Pisces. And it says, and then shall they see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. So it takes for the foundation to be shaken, the foundation of these kingdoms in heaven and on earth to be shaken, moving into a new age, a new paradigm. Okay, so then, since the powers of heaven are shaken, we know as above, so below. So the powers of earth are also being shaken, because they are one. It says oneness. See, copy. So what's happening is we're being copied in the image form, the spiritual image of the heavenly form. We're being copied into the spiritual image of the heavenly form, into the earthly bodies. If you catch me, if I'm saying the right thing. Right here it says that it is to indicate, this sign is to indicate that it says see copy. So we're being copied. We're being cloned. We're being cloned into sameness. We're being cloned into very actual unity. We're being cloned into self. And that is spelled S-E-L-F. We're being cloned into I. We're being cloned into myself. Now we know all of these are attributes of Yahweh ben Yahweh through our study. And you see this, it say the coming of the Son of Man. See, this is an age of great redemption. And a lot is going on in these scriptures. There's so much that you can study off of this. But this is Luke chapter 21, verses 25 through 28. Okay. So in dealing with that sun and the moon part, we're speaking of something that's ecliptic. And ecliptic means the great circle of the celestial sphere that is the apparent path of the sun. So it's letting you know that it's a path that the sun takes. Bam, bam. It's something based on this path that the sun takes. Follow me. I know those of you who are into what? The signs and the symbols. Some of you know these things. You should know these things. Okay. And it says the next one is an eclipse. And it says the total or partial obscuring of one heavenly body by another. So that's like when the sun, the moon crosses the sun in the sun's path as it's going inside, it's going in this circle. The moon crosses right directly in the sun's path, and then you have an eclipse. So if you once you put those two together, you have two spheres there, two circles. But you put them together, you get an 8 or a ket. Aleph, Beth, Gamel, Delef, He, Wa, Zion, Ket. That would be the number 8. But you put the two circles together, and you would get an 8. Okay, it says an eclipse is a total or partial obscuring of one heavenly body by another, a falling into obscurity or a decline, a symbol of darkness or death. Okay, exactly. So it's a symbol of darkness for one thing, death for one thing, but life for another. So it's going to be death to this limited sign and life to an unlimited sign. So one sign is passing on, and we're moving into the life and energy of the next sign, the next paradigm, which is Aquarius. The number 8 is also symbolic in some instances of a new beginning. They say a new beginning. Number 8. Also, number 8 is transcendence, life, and grace. Also, the symbol is a hedge or a fence. So you're gonna be like Job, we're gonna be hedged in. They say, yeah, we can't do nothing to him because you got him hedged in. Yahweh, I can't say Yahweh, I can't touch him. You got him hedged. Only way I can touch him. So guess what? We going back to being hedged in again. Going back to that hedge of protection being around us again. Wow. Yes, praise Yahweh. With power and great glory.